hope you had a good time in beautiful Scotland. We did a lot of work with the European Union, and yesterday I spent pretty much a whole day with the Prime Minister of UK, and we had a lot of good discussions. Although I see something came up today which is interesting. So, go ahead. Hello.
Hi, Mr. President.
Can we ask about that? Can we ask about that, please? On Gaza, Sir Keir Starmer has just announced the UK will recognise Palestinian sovereignty in September if Israel does not commit to a ceasefire, ease the suffering in Gaza, and commit to a long-term solution that would deliver the two-state solution in the Middle East. Did you know that was coming? What is your response?
We never discussed it, surprisingly. It was never really discussed. Maybe a little bit at the news conference, but he was sort of discussing it with you. We never did discuss it, and we have no view on that. We're going to get a lot of money to the area so they can get some food. He's going to also. I think the European Union is going to put up money too for food, and hopefully it's going to be properly distributed, and it will be. I think it will be. We have some pretty good response on people for the distribution of the food.
Mr. President.
We want to take it one thing at a time. They need food, and they need people to be able to get them the food.
But to follow up on that, I mean, is there any use at all in pressuring Israel now to come to some sort of longer-term solution, or at least
you could make the case that you're rewarding people, that you're rewarding Hamas if you do that, and I don't think they should be rewarded. So I'm not in that camp, to be honest. We'll let you know where we are in, but I am not in that camp.
Mr. President,
because if you do that, you really are rewarding Hamas, and I'm not about to do that.
Mr. President, you mentioned setting up food centers. When can we expect to see those food centers?
Yeah, very soon. So we said $60 million. That's a lot of money for food, a lot of money that can take care of people for a long time. And we want to make sure it's being spent properly. And part of the spending is the distribution. If you know, a lot of money's been sent by other countries, but nothing compared to us. But a lot of things have been stolen. They send money, they send food, and Hamas steals it. So it's a tricky little game. But we're going to make sure we have some very good people. They're going to be watching it.
Who is going to be running those food centers for you, and what kind of oversight
Well, we're going to be dealing with Israel, and we think they can do a good job of it. And they want to do it.
Of monitoring the food centers?
No, they want to do it. The food centers, yeah. They want to preside over the food centers to make sure the distribution is proper.
Great time seeing that beautiful course, but there's some critics who say this was a promotional trip for you and your business. That it promoted you and your business personally. What do you say to that?
I haven't heard that, no. I haven't heard that. Did you get to see my drive in the first hole?
You hit it straight and pretty high, yeah.
Pretty long. It's pretty long. That's no Joe Biden, let me tell you. That's not Biden, right? That was a good drive.
When did you last speak to Prime Minister Netanyahu, and when will you speak to him again?
2 days ago.
How many?
2 days ago.
When do you think you'll speak to him?
We sent money, and I want to make sure the money is spent wisely and is spent judiciously, and that food is distributed in a proper manner. And he wants to do that.
Mr. President, you talked about moving Palestinians out of Gaza. You said that in the past. Do you still support that idea?
Well, it's a concept that some people fell in love with and some people don't. We really have to see how it all works out before we do that. But, you could do something spectacular, but that's a different concept. You could also probably do it if you left some. Some are leaving automatically, you know that. Some would like to leave. I think many would like to leave if they were given an alternative. They really have no alternative now. But certainly that was a concept that was really embraced by a lot of people. But also some people didn't like it.
Prime Minister Starmer, he was kind of critical of Israel and said more pressure needed to be put on Israel to allow food to get in at speed. Do you feel that Israel is a good?
I think Israel wants to do it. Actually, I think Israel wants to do that. They're going to want to, and I can tell you that they want to do it. They don't want Hamas stealing the money or stealing the food, and that's what they've been doing.
Do you think Israel can be trusted to allow more food in faster?
I think Israel wants to do it, and they'll be good at doing it. If they do it, and if they really want to do it, and I think they do, they'll do a good job. The food will be properly.
There's a perception maybe that Keir Starmer didn't do so well in the press conference yesterday.
Do you have any words of support for him?
But he did well in the press conference, and I thought, I think they made a good deal. I think we all made a good deal. Why are you hearing otherwise? I guess.
Yeah. I think the feeling is that he was maybe a little weak and didn't really have very strong answers, and maybe wasn't entirely honest about free speech and immigration.
I like him. I think he's good. I think he's a great representative for UK. I haven't heard that.
In your meeting with John Swinney today, did you offer to drop tariffs on Scotch whisky? Did you have
We
a
really didn't
productive-
discuss it much, but I have a lot of respect for him.
Mr. President,
And I didn't have a lot of respect for the woman that preceded him. I thought she was terrible as a First Minister of Scotland. But I think John is doing a very good job as First Minister.
Mr. President, your Treasury Secretary and Howard
Right.
Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce, the China talks wrapped today. Any sort of reaction coming out of the meeting? They're extending the truce. Are you pleased with that? Would you like to?
I just had a phone call from Scott Bessent, and had a very good meeting with China. And it seems that they're going to brief me tomorrow. We'll either approve it or not. But he felt very good about the meeting. Better than he felt yesterday. Yesterday I said, "Ooh, here we go again. Here we go again." But today it worked out very well.
And
I think the result is probably.
I
great.
saw a report from Reuters that India is preparing to face higher U.S. tariffs between 20 and 25%. Is that what you're tracking, or what do you think the rate will be for
that
India?
they are going to pay 25%.
Yeah, that India is preparing to face higher U.S. tariffs between 20 and 25%.
Yeah, I think so. Look, India's they're my friends, and he's my friend. And, they ended the war with Pakistan at my request, and it was great. And Pakistan did also. We did a lot of great settlements, including the recent one, as you know, with Cambodia, So that was a great one. I think that's been pretty well finalized now, right?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
Did I do a good job in that one? I did a good job in about 5 different wars. Do you think I'll get credit for it? No.
So,
Will I get credit for it? She'll say yes.
is the deal with India finalized?
No, it's not.
Okay. So what rate are you expecting?
Well, we're
it
going to
be
see.
at?
We're going to see. But India's been a good friend, but India has charged basically more tariffs than almost any other country. You know that, right? Over the years. But now I'm in charge, and you just can't do that. I think the trade deals are working out very well, hopefully for everybody, but for the United States, they're very, very good.
Mr. President, on the Wall Street Journal case, lawyers are seeking to depose Rupert Murdoch, Can you say what the lawyers hope to get out of that?
No, we're going to see. It's in the lawyers' hands. I've been treated very unfairly by the Wall Street Journal and everything. I don't know. They even hired people from the Washington Post, third-rate reporters, gossip-type reporters. It's all gossip. And, I've been treated badly by the Wall Street Journal. I would have assumed that Rupert Murdoch controls it, but, maybe does, maybe doesn't. They are talking to us about doing something, but we'll see what happens. Maybe they would like us to drop that. And so we'll see.
Does that mean there's settlement talks?
Yeah, they want to settle it.
With money involved?
He's treated us wrong. When I get treated unfairly, I do things about it. So we'll see what happens.
On Gaza last week, you were rather dismissive of President Macron when he recognised the Palestinian state. Today, you're saying you don't really.
That's his opinion. He can have an opinion. It doesn't mean I have to agree. Emmanuel's a good man. He works hard. Got a lot to say about everything.
But now you're saying you're not taking a view on Sir Keir Starmer's announcement. Does that mean your view is
I
evolving?
guess Starmer is doing the same as Macron, right? Is he saying the same thing? I think so. Essentially, they're saying the same thing. And that's okay. But, it doesn't mean I have to agree.
Mr. President, you said yesterday your falling out with Jeffrey Epstein was over him taking some of the workers from your business. But your administration in the past said that you threw him out because he was a creep. So can you explain that discrepancy?
Well, maybe they're the same thing. It's sort of a little bit of the same thing. But no, he took people that worked for me, and I told him don't do it anymore, and he did it. And I said, stay the hell out of here.
So is that what was meant by being a creep? I'm the travel pool, but I'm with NBC News.
NBC fake news. NBC's one of the worst. What else do you have?
I was on Air Force One, the new Air Force One. When do you expect to be flying on the new Air Force One?
They say February, maybe? Much sooner than the others. The others are being built. Long time build. That's a long time build. Now, they're not normal 747s. They, have a lot of things on them that another plane wouldn't have. But we'll get this one a year and a half, 2 years earlier.
How much will it cost to retrofit it?
I don't know. That's up to the military. I don't know. I really don't know. I haven't been involved. It's their plane. It's, the Air Force. They'll be spending an amount of money. It is a different plane because it becomes for military use. So, but I don't know what the number is.
There's questions about whether the amount that it'll cost in the hundreds of millions of dollars, whether that's worth it, since considering how little time you will be able to use it.
It's a great plane. It's one of the best planes in the world. The Air Force is going to have it. We're going to have a great 747. We need it. If you look at this plane, it's 32, 34, 35. I don't know. It's old. It's a good plane, but it's old. Can't get parts for it anymore. It's very hard to get parts. They have to go and take from the older planes. So it was time. When you look at 747s and the heads of state from, especially the Arab countries, you look at from Saudi Arabia, from some of those countries, and you put it next to this, it doesn't show well for the United States. And if you remember, it was Obama that wanted to get the plane. He was the one ready to sign a contract. And because he wanted to sign it, I assumed they paid too much. And I was able to get about $1.7 billion off the price, maybe $1.5 billion to $1.7 billion off the price for the exact same plane. And they're building it, but they're taking a lot longer than they should have taken.
There's a report that a Secret Service agent tried to get his wife onto a support plane for this mission.
That's a weird deal.
Have you briefed
You
and are you
leave
concerned?
the wife in the car? Wouldn't you think that might be a little dangerous? I don't know if that has proper compression. I don't know. That's a strange one. I just heard that 2 minutes ago. I think Sean's taking care of it.
Mr. President, you talked on
Is
Russia.
that a serious story?
I think it's well.
Keep her in the car, and she's going to be in a freighter.
Well, you tell me the details
Those
on how
freighters that don't have,
you can just keep her in the car. Tell us how it was going to work.
I don't want to get involved, but it's a strange story. I just heard that one.
Mr. President, you said that you were going to
The British
send
farmers are so grateful for what you said yesterday about the importance of farming, because we have changed inheritance tax with death taxes.
Farmers are so important. Some farmers are, they liked what I said on a couple of things yesterday. They liked what I said for the farm. I'm a big farmer person. I love the farmers. I think they're great. And we have to steer the laws so the farmers don't get hurt in our country and in their country. But Europe has a big immigration problem. But they also liked when I said that they have one of the worst mayors anywhere in the world in London. He's a horrible mayor, nasty guy, stupid guy in my opinion, but he's a nasty man. And I want nothing to do with him. But I didn't think it was a big statement. And so many people said, thank you for saying that. He's a bad guy. Khan is his name, I guess. He's done a lousy job, I can tell you that. A terrible mayor. But people liked it so much when I said that.
Mr. President, yesterday you mentioned that you would change the Russia deadline to 10 to 12 days. Has that started yet, or when can we, see the official statement that is the new deadline?
I'll tell you what, I'll give it to you now. Do you want a big scoop?
Yes, please.
Everybody else, close your ears, okay? You ready?
I'm ready.
10 days from today.
Got it.
Okay?
Got it.
Good.
Have you communicated?
We have a scoop.
Thank you.
And then, we're going to put on tariffs and stuff, and I don't know if it's going to affect Russia, because he wants to obviously probably keep the war going. But we're going to put on tariffs and the various things that you put on. It may or may not affect them, but it could.
Have you any of the families of the victims of the Manhattan shooting?
I don't want to tell you that. I don't want to tell you that.
Have you spoken
That's a
with
very,
Mayor
that's a
Adams?
very, boy, that's a bad one. That's a bad one, but I won't tell you about that.
Have you talked to Mayor Adams? Have you spoken with Mayor
I have,
Adams?
yeah.
One of the other things our readers liked from yesterday was when you were talking so forcefully about illegal immigration in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
One of the big political flashpoints is migrant hotels, where people are being put up while their claims are processed. People see it as a
In
source of
beautiful luxury
insecurity.
hotels.
They also think there's low security and it's a problem for their communities. Is that appropriate, or does Britain need an alligator Alcatraz?
It's not alligator. It's just that they're putting people in luxury hotels, and other people that are working their asses off are living, from hand to mouth. They're not living the same way. I mean, I looked at some of the hotels they're using, and they've done it in our country also. They put them in like the best hotels anywhere in the world because they could get rooms there, thousands of dollars a night, and other people are living out on the streets, including our veterans. They can't get a room. Our veterans are living on the streets. There are pictures of our veterans saying right by the door where they're walking in to live, and the veterans are sitting out on the sidewalk in front of a fancy hotel, and the illegals are coming into that hotel and staying there for a week. That's no good.
Just to button up on Mar-a-Lago, you're saying that Jeffrey Epstein poached 2 of your staffers. Who were they? Were they
I don't
young?
want to say 2, or I don't want to say any number. You're talking about many years ago. But yeah, he took people, and because he took people, I said, don't do it anymore. They work for me. And he took, beyond that, he took some others. And once he did that, that was the end of him. I didn't like, when they steal people, I don't like it.
Did anybody ever go to prison for a social media post?
Are you saying that that's taking place in the UK?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hearing that. Well, I looked at him yesterday. Well, they said they canceled Truth Social. I'll bet it's uncanceled very quickly. I'll bet it's uncanceled. No, it's a little different. It's different. I see it in some countries that you would never suspect it. Not only there. I've seen it in other countries where, they're like bread and pudding countries, I think, and then all of a sudden they become somewhat violent. When people go socialistic, or when you get the radical left or the left going in, the countries actually become very mean. They become 2 things, mean and incompetently run simultaneously. How is Caroline doing? Is she doing a good job? Look at her. She's such a star. Come on, Caroline. Come here.
Chloe wanted to watch, sir.
Chloe, do you want to come over? Chloe is she's a great golfer, a great talented golfer. She's probably the most talented golfer other than Kai, but I think it's about the same, right? Don't you think?
Yeah.
She hits the ball long. This little girl has a lot of muscle, right?
Yeah.
So, and she wins every tournament she plays in of her age.
Should have fun weekend.
Yes, very fun.
You love golf, right?
Yes.
But she's a great athlete.
How did the golf course play today? And be
Great.
honest, did anyone in your foursome hit that massive bunker on the 9th?
That is a massive bumper. Fortunately, nobody did. Well, I played 2 of the guys who were pros and really good players. One of them won the tournament last year, and you could see they were very good players.
Who at the moment holds the course record?
Well, we played a first round. I think. We only played 1 round. This was our first round, so I'd have to go into that exactly. But they're 2 both really good players. One of them, is the one who, the story. Beam. You know who that is?
You might have to tell me.
So he took Tiger, I guess, to 18 holes. Tiger, went wild with his putting, meaning he started dropping putts from all over the place, and Tiger took him. But that's the quality, they're really good players. We had, those 2 guys were, and terrific guys, 2 terrific guys. We had a good time. But I was watching, the only shot that mattered to me was the driver in the first hole, because if I would have missed it, you would not have let me forget it.
Did you take a bit of a practice? You were on the driving range beforehand?
I hit some, I did. I hit some balls on the driving range. It's a great course. It's a great course. It's been fantastic. I built one, and then I had to build this one, otherwise you would have lost your zoning. You have like a certain period of time to build it. So they built it, it opened. My son did a very good job on building it.
You said you thought it would be the last dune course. Are you talking about environmental regulations? You think the last?
We obey the regulations, the environmental regulations. You really want to, and it's top of the line. It's really, the pros were saying this is as good as any course they've ever played. It's as good as it gets.
The course was surrounded by windmills. Did you talk to Starmer about
I did.
the
Yeah,
windmills?
I think windmills are a disgrace. I think they hurt everything they touch. They're ugly. They're very inefficient. It's the most expensive form of energy there is. People hate it when they become visible from their house. When you see them from a house, the value goes down by 50% and more. They make noise. When they're out in the ocean, they're bad for the sea life, very bad for the whales, obviously, because they wash up on shore like 9 times more than they did without them. No, they are really bad, and they cost a lot of money. You know, there's not a wind farm that's put up without subsidy. So instead of making money, what they should do is open up the whole North Coast oil. They have tremendous oil right there, right where we played. And they've made it impossible for people to drill. It's crazy. It's, that's one of the best oil areas in the world. They made it impossible for people to take it out. Instead, they put up these ugly windmills all over the country and all over the world. I don't know what it is. Nobody likes them. They have the greatest lobby, but it's starting. I think I'm starting to get to it now. They're bad energy. They look bad. They kill the birds. They're really terrible things. And it's the most expensive energy of any energy there is. And in fact, not every, I guess, I don't know, maybe some, but almost every windmill put up needs subsidy from the government. So instead of making money, they lose money. And that's why UK energy costs are very high. Because when we were flying over to the plane, they're all over the place. It's terrible. It's a terrible thing. I'll say it till I can't speak anymore. And I think we are having an impact, and they're starting to take a lot of windmills down. I mean, they're literally starting to take them down. They don't work, they're bad, and they're too costly. And every year you see them up there, the government is paying a lot of money. Whereas if you have oil, if you have other forms of energy, you make money on it. In other words, you bring down taxes.
Well, your friend Bryson DeChambeau said LIV tour players weren't playing enough links golf. Is that something we might see at the...
Well, links golf is just different golf. It's quite a bit different. I love Bryson. Bryson's great. He's a great player, very powerful guy, long hitter, great putter, great everything. And it's interesting because he plays well in links course.
But is that in the future for the greatest 36?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, we have a tournament this weekend there, and we have another tournament next weekend, big tournaments. And we're looking to get the Irish Open at Doonbeg. You know, I have a course in Doonbeg in Ireland. And we have a lot of great tournaments coming to mind. I build the best courses. That's not only said by me, that's said by everybody.
Dr. Russia, sir, since you made the announcement of the 10 to 12 days, have you gotten any feedback or any officials gotten any feedback that it had a response, that Russia is going to do something?
No, I haven't had any response. It's a shame. So I used to say to you, 5,000 people die a week. Now it's 7,000 people are dying a week. Mostly Ukrainian and Russian soldiers, but people also from having bombs dropped on their head. It's a disgusting war.
How worried are you on the oil markets if you were to put sanctions on Russia?
I don't worry about it. We have so much oil in our country, we'll just step it up even further. I mean, oil is down pretty low right now. We'll step it up even further.
I heard you mention compression. How were you feeling out there when you were playing? Like, how did you feel? Because I think it's the first time you played since you saw the doc, right?
I felt good. I thought it was great. I thought the course was great. It looks even more beautiful than I thought. You know, we did the first one like 12 years ago, and it's gotten tremendous reviews. It's one of the best courses in the world, and I had the other piece of land to do this one, also on the ocean and the North Sea. And we really have, and by the way, the North Sea is the exact term for the oil. They have among the greatest reserves. It's tremendous, and they're not using it. Instead, they're putting up these stupid windmills. It's so crazy. UK could reduce their energy costs by 70% if they would use the North Sea oil. It just doesn't make sense. It's just not a liberal thing to do, but it's becoming more a liberal thing to do. I love being out there. It was great. Good feeling.
Mr. President, UK and the US both have increasingly unhealthy populations.
Is that what they say?
Well, we do, don't we?
Well, I can see it.
I'm interested in the work that they're making America healthy again.
I could say it. I should think about it for myself. Bobby's doing a great job. People are loving Bobby Kennedy and the whole group, Dr. Oz, Marty McCary. We have a fantastic group, and you're going to see a lot of things happening over the next couple of months. I mean, true activists, and they're going with the science. And if you take a look at some of the problems, some of the diseases that are coming up to a level that we've never seen before, there's something wrong. There's something wrong, and I think we're going to solve the problem, but he's really working hard. All we're doing now is statistics, and I think we're going to make a big change. We're going to save a lot of lives. When the babies are born and they end up having problems that they've never had before, and by like 15 and 20 times more. So there's something wrong, and we're going to find what it is pretty soon. We think pretty soon.
Mr. President, Epstein has a certain reputation, obviously. I'm just curious, were some of the workers that were taken from you, were some of them young women?
Were some of them
young women?
Well, I don't want to say, but everyone knows the people that were taken. And it was the concept of taking people that work for me is bad. But that story's been pretty well out there. And the answer is yes, they were.
Yes, they were young women?
What do they do?
In the spa.
In the spa?
Yeah, people that work in the spa. I have a great spa, one of the best spas in the world at Mar-a-Lago. And people were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told them, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa. I don't want him taking people. And he was fine, and then not too long after that, he did it again, and I said, out of here.
Mr. President, did one of those stolen, persons, that include Virginia Jeffrey?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people, yeah. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know. None whatsoever.
We've seen how good your security detail is this weekend, and the team around you are amazing.
Good job.
Amazing. Do you have any answers yet as to what happened with the assassination attempt? Having seen them in action, it seems remarkable that was
You mean the
able to
assassination
happen.
with... They just weren't as good that day. They had a bad day. They shouldn't have had a roof that was, unpatrolled. They should have had coordination with the local police because, you had a lot of talk going on. You had the woman screaming, there's a man up there with a gun. And a number of people were screaming, there's a guy up there with a gun. And they didn't have, the one group wasn't hooked into the other group. I'll tell you, the Secret Service shooter, David, was amazing. Because in 4 seconds, it was over. And if this lunatic was allowed to keep shooting, because they had a lot of tens of thousands of people there, so a lot of people could have been killed. I mean, we lost a great person and 2 people very badly injured. But the shooter, 1 bullet, think of that, 1 bullet from a very far distance. It's amazing. He was great.
Do you feel like it's changed you as a person?
I don't know, maybe and maybe not, but it's, I like to not think about it. It affects some people greatly. I can't afford to be affected because I have a job to do, so I like not to think about it.
Does it not
If
go
I
through,
think about it too much, it's probably not a good thing.
does it not go through your mind at all on a morning like this morning when you're outside, there's a crowd and you're
I
giving
don't
a
think
speech?
about it. I think you see the kind of protection now. I think they're very good. It's a whole different level. Look, these people went to Biden and Biden's people and asked for more help because I was having rallies, 60,000, 70,000 people. I had 115,000 people, and Biden would have 2 people. Nobody wanted to see the guy. And he'd have a bigger security detail than I had. And they were asking, Sean and the various people were asking for more people, and they were denied. So they denied them, and so you could make that case. I don't think they made that case well, because I knew for a fact that they were asking for more people a lot. They haven't wanted. They have said it, but not that publicly. But they wanted more people, and the Biden people would not give it to them. And we had massive crowds. You were there. But we would have routinely 50, 60, 70,000 people, and he would have nobody. He couldn't fill the circles, the 8 circles, and he didn't need very many people, and so that was a problem too.
Can I ask about the First Lady? You mentioned a couple of weeks ago her role in talking to you about the war in Ukraine, and perhaps it being part of your evolution in thinking. Have you discussed the crisis in Gaza and the terrifying, horrific images?
She thinks it's terrible, and she sees the same pictures that you see, and that we all see, and I think everybody, unless they're pretty cold-hearted or worse than that, nuts. There's nothing you can say other than it's terrible when you see the kids. And those are kids, whether they talk starvation or not, those are kids that are starving. They are starving. And you see the mothers, they love them so much, and there's just nothing they seem to be able to do. They got to get them food, and we're going to get them food.
Do you plan to attend the G20 summit this year in South Africa?
No, I think maybe I'll send somebody else, because I've had a lot of problems with South Africa, and they have some very bad policies. Very, very bad policies, like policies where people are being killed. A lot of people are being killed. So I think I probably won't.
Any update?
I'd like to, but I don't think I will.
Any update on when you'll meet with President Xi? When can we expect that?
He wants to meet, and I look forward to the meeting too. But I would say before the end of the year. Just to go full circle. So we had a very good meeting today. If you would have asked me the question yesterday, no, it wasn't looking too good, I would have said, maybe I might have said nothing, but I might have also said it wasn't going too good. I just heard from Scott that the meeting went very well today with China. Thank you all very much. Enjoy the flight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Well, thank you very much. Please sit down. Please, thank you. We have a lot of great political leaders, and the biggest political leaders around, I guess you could say, but by far much bigger are the business leaders. It's not even close. I say that to my friends, the politicians. You have the greatest business leaders in the world here, so it's an honor. And this week we're celebrating the most successful first 100 days of any administration in American history. We're thrilled to welcome to the White House dozens of the world top leaders of all kinds, but in particular business leaders. And since the election, the companies represented in this room have collectively announced more than $2 trillion in new investments, and we have a total of close to $8 trillion all told. And there's never been anything like that in this country. We've never had anything close. I would say if you looked at the last administration, probably for 4 years they did maybe less than one. And we've done almost 8. I would say we'll be above 8 in a period of 2 months. So something happened. I think two things happened. November 5th happened, and November 5th gave you tariffs, intelligently used tariffs and various other forms of incentive. But it's really amazing. There's never been, I don't think there's ever been anything like this anywhere in the world. Together, we're going to bring back the most beautiful words. I always say made in the USA, the most beautiful words. We're going to have made in the USA like we haven't had before in a long time. In addition to the business leaders whose companies I will mention in just a moment, we have some great people, great senators. Marcia, where are you? Where are you, Martha? Marcia, thank you very much. Marcia Blackburn, Bill Cassidy. Bill, thank you, Bill.
Good afternoon, everyone. I apologize for our tardiness. I was with the president. Let me begin with a few scheduling announcements today. President Trump will travel to Scotland, where he will visit both Turnberry and Aberdeen from July 25th to July 29th. During the visit, President Trump will meet again with Prime Minister Starmer to refine the great trade deal that was brokered between the United States and the United Kingdom. And the President and the First Lady will travel to the United Kingdom for an official state visit from September 17th to September 19th later this fall. This will mark a truly unprecedented second state visit for President Trump, and he is honored and looking forward to meeting with His Majesty the King at Windsor Castle. There has been a wave of positive economic news over the past week, which I would like to highlight today. Joe Biden's inflation crisis has been defeated. Prices paid to American businesses for goods and services were flat in June, which is lower than all 50 forecasters in the Bloomberg survey predicted. And core inflation, which is the best measure of inflation, came in lower than expected again in the month of June. Since President Trump took office, core inflation has tracked at just 2.1% overall and has come in below or at economists' expectations every single month. Wages are growing at a strong pace and prices are falling for everyday Americans. We also saw prices for new and used vehicles and airfares drop last month. In addition, prices for gas, fuel oil, energy commodities, hotels, airfare, public transportation, and fresh vegetables are all down over last year. As we said all along, trust in President Trump. The American dream is back, and everyday families are already reaping the benefits of this incredible economic turnaround in just 6 months. President Trump has ended the era of economic surrender and implemented powerful tariffs to stand up for our workers and businesses and rebalance America's trading agreements. Despite all of the doom casting from the so-called experts claiming that these tariffs would be the end of the world as we know it, the opposite has occurred. Tariffs are not inflationary, as President Trump has said all along. In reality, tariffs are a source of massive revenue. We're seeing trillions of dollars in private investment pour into our country right now because the companies around this world want to make their products right here with American labor and not have to pay any tariffs at all. Customs and tariff revenue has already totaled more than $113 billion since President Trump entered office, helping to lead a budget surplus in June for the first time in nearly a decade. We are truly entering a golden age as a result of these pro-growth and America First trade policies. On another matter, yesterday in the East Room, the president was proud to sign the Halt All Lethal Trafficking of Fentanyl Act into law, surrounded by angel families to help finally end the devastating fentanyl crisis that has ravaged millions of Americans. Under the Halt Fentanyl Act, anyone who possesses, imports, distributes, or manufactures any illicit fentanyl-related substances will be subject to criminal prosecution in the same manner as any other Schedule I controlled substance. This legislation will close the loopholes that criminals use to skirt around the law and make it easier for law enforcement to prosecute vicious traffickers who peddle poison in our communities. President Trump has always made tackling the drug crisis a top priority, and this important bipartisan legislation further follows through on that commitment. The complete and total success at our southern border that many in the media in this room continue to ignore is another example of the president keeping his word to families who have lost loved ones due to fentanyl, and it's another win for the American people. Customs and Border Protection just released the final operationalized stats for the month of June, and I must highlight some of these incredible numbers. There were only 6,072 Southwest apprehensions in June, 15% lower than the previous record that this president set in the month of March. To put that in perspective, the Biden administration routinely saw the same number of encounters in a single day, and on many days, that number was more than 10,000 apprehensions at the Southwest border. There were also 0 illegal aliens released along the Southwest border for the second consecutive month in a row. President Trump promised to end the illegal alien invasion, and he has delivered on that promise to the American people in record time. With the border sealed, deportations are ramping up. This past weekend, our brave ICE agents were arresting violent criminal illegal aliens all across the country. ICE Atlanta arrested an illegal alien from Mexico, convicted of attempted rape of a child in North Carolina. ICE Baltimore arrested an illegal alien from Guatemala who was previously convicted for sexual abuse of a minor in Maryland. ICE Houston arrested a criminal illegal alien from Mexico whose previous conviction includes aggravated sexual assault of a child in Texas. ICE Salt Lake City arrested a 32-year-old illegal criminal alien from Mexico who was previously convicted for child abuse and injury. ICE Baltimore arrested a criminal illegal alien from El Salvador convicted in Maryland for possession of child pornography. And ICE San Antonio arrested a criminal illegal alien from Mexico convicted of aggravated sexual assault in Texas. The men and women of ICE are heroes. They are putting their lives on the line every day to get the worst of the worst, these types of criminals, out of our communities and out of our country. And the president continues to strongly have the backs of all ICE agents who are doing their jobs to keep all of us, including everyone in this room, safe. The facility, sorry, one second. In other news, following President Trump's bold executive actions protecting American children from irreversible chemical and surgical mutilation, the largest provider of these barbaric practices will now be closing its doors. The facility in Los Angeles, California, is just the latest facility downsizing or eliminating their irreversible and harmful services that feed into the lie that you can somehow change a child's sex. The Biden administration peddled dangerous policies that defied medical science in favor of radical transgender ideology. But President Trump has put an end to that to ensure America's children's innocence is protected and our children can lead healthy and productive lives. Finally, last night, Senate Republicans passed President Trump's $9 billion rescissions package. This will help restore fiscal sanity in our country by rescinding billions in wasteful foreign aid and finally ending taxpayer funding for PBS and NPR, two media organizations that have ridiculously used federal dollars to push a partisan left-wing agenda for many years. The House should pass this rescissions package immediately and send it to the president's desk for signature. On another note, I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House medical unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type natriuretic peptide, and cardiac biomarkers. All results were within normal limits. An echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness were identified. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy. And the president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis here. So the president wanted me to share that note with all of you. I'm happy to take further questions on it. We will provide the memorandum from the president's position to all of you, as we always do. And we'll get to questions. Here in our new media seat, we have Frank Corva, who's the White House correspondent for Bitcoin Magazine, which comes at a timely week with crypto legislation moving across Capitol Hill. So why don't you kick us off, Frank, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it, Ms. Levitt.
Sure.
I was curious to hear if the president was in favor of removing any and all language around central bank digital currencies from the Genius Act, maybe as a means to get it across the line and get it on his desk. And then my second question was about something the president spoke about in this room. He talked about a $600 de minimis tax exemption for Bitcoin and other crypto spending. So I was just wondering if you could comment on those.
Sure. Well, the president did signal his support for a de minimis exemption for crypto, and the administration continues to be in support of that. We are definitely receptive to it to make crypto payments easier and more efficient for those who seek to use crypto as simple as buying a cup of coffee. Of course, right now that cannot happen, but with the de minimis exemption, perhaps it could in the future, and we will continue to explore legislative solutions to accomplish that. As for the central bank digital currency and the Genius Act, which you noted has passed through Congress and will be sent to the president's desk. I believe the House is voting on it. If they haven't, they should be passing it. We know we have the votes, and we expect it to get to the president's desk, and we are planning a signing ceremony tomorrow afternoon. All of you will get more details on that. This piece of legislation is going to make America the crypto capital of the world, and that's what the president promised. As for a central bank digital currency, the president opposes that. He made that promise to the American people on the campaign, and while it's not in this specific piece of legislation, he did sign a January executive order banning a central bank digital currency. The administration supports Congress's efforts to codify that executive order into law, and I believe there will be future pieces of legislation in regards to crypto that will be moving through Capitol Hill. The president looks forward to signing them, and he looks forward to the signing ceremony this afternoon. So thank you for being with us today. Sure. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. There's been a lot of discussion about the Epstein files and the president's comments yesterday calling it a hoax. Can you clarify which part of the Epstein hoax is the hoax part?
The president is referring to the fact that Democrats have now seized on this as if they ever wanted transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, which is an asinine suggestion for any Democrat to make. The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency in regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes. It was this president who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. The Attorney General and the FBI, led by Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, these are great patriots, some of the most trusted voices in the Republican Party movement. It's part of the reason the president appointed them to these high law enforcement positions, and they spent many months going through all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they drafted and they released. And so the president has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises to the American people, but he doesn't like to see Democrats and the mainstream media covering this like it's the biggest story that the American people care about. The president has been working so hard this week. On Tuesday, he went to Pennsylvania, where he secured $90 billion in investments for the Commonwealth, for the people of that state. After that, he came back to the Oval Office at 8 p.m. He went in there to whip votes to get the Genius Act signed into law. And because of his efforts, that bill is now going to be signed and passed. The following day, yesterday, he meets with a foreign leader, the King of Bahrain, to secure more investments into this country. And then yesterday afternoon, the president is in the East Room of the White House mourning with parents who have lost their children because of fentanyl, signing a bipartisan piece of legislation. And not a single cable network in this country took that event live and covered that event like they should. Those are the issues the president cares about. What could be more important to the American people than helping families who have lost their children? Those are the issues this president is going to remain focused on.
I understand he wants to move on from this story, but you do have some prominent figures, including the Senate Majority Leader, the House Speaker, voicing support for the files to come out. Representative Massey collecting signatures that would force a discharge petition for a vote on the floor for this. It doesn't seem to be going away. What is stopping the administration from just redacting any sensitive information, grand jury information, and putting out what is appropriate so that the American people can decide and then let this story die?
Well, in terms of redactions or grand jury seals, those are questions for the Department of Justice. Those are also questions for the judges who have that information under a seal, and that would have to be requested, and a judge would have to approve it. That's out of the president's control. He has said, in agreement with some of the leaders on Capitol Hill, that if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice come across any other credible evidence, they should provide that to the American people. The president has said that, and he agrees with them on
Why
that.
did he fire Maureen Comey?
The Department of Justice did, and I would defer you to them. Dasha.
Has the White House been directly in touch with some of the MAGA influencers that are still not satisfied with the administration's handling? And has the message to them been similar to what the president has said, which is sort of either let this go or we don't need your support?
Well, look, the president and this team are always in contact with the president's supporters, with voices of many kinds on both sides of the aisle. I think that's part of the reason this president is a great president, because he's willing to listen and hear other people's perspectives. But ultimately, he has led this country, not just over the past 6 months to historic success, but also through his first 4 years as president. And as the leader and the creator of the MAGA movement, he has led through these perilous times for our country based on instinct and in the best interest of the country. And as I always say, the American people should trust in President Trump.
And what on
John,
the Fed chair?
Go ahead, John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. The president on Monday announced that if there's not compliance with Russia within 50 days, there would be increased tariffs. Can you explain how that works, first of all? What happens if Russia doesn't end its war with Ukraine in 50 days?
Well, in 50 days, as the president clearly laid out, if there is not a ceasefire agreement or a peace deal within that time frame, if Russia refuses to legitimately agree to a ceasefire, then they will face very steep tariffs, and they will also face secondary sanctions. So countries that are purchasing oil from Russia will be sanctioned as well, and of course that will do deep damage to Russia's economy. And I would just add that the president wants this war to end with a diplomatic solution. He's been pushing for it. This administration has spent many hours and a lot of time trying to solve this war very far away, but the president wants to stop the killing, and he wants to save lives.
As far
Reagan,
as the first part
go
of
ahead.
what you were saying, Caroline.
Reagan, go ahead.
I have two questions for you.
It's just about, if I may, just about the tariffs, the first part. I get the secondary tariffs, but there was only $3 billion worth of trade between the U.S. and Russia in 2024. It's expected to be far less this particular year. On April the 2nd, both you and the Treasury Secretary said it's not necessary to apply any tariffs on Russia. You said that because of the lack of trade, it precludes, that was the word you used, any need for tariffs. Why now, and why do you think that that would make them cave and come to some sort of peace agreement as it relates to Ukraine?
$3 billion is still a lot of money, John, and it's not just tariffs, it's the secondary sanctions as well that will be implemented in 50 days. Reagan.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions for
Sure.
you. First on Congress. Congresswoman Salazar introduced legislation that would give some illegal immigrants in the country a path to citizenship. 10 Republicans signed on to what she's calling the Dignity Act. I'm curious what the White House's position is on the legislation and if the president would veto this bill if it made it to its desk.
From my understanding, the White House nor the president has actually read through this legislation. We've been focused on, of course, the One Big Beautiful Bill, which passed, which is another historic accomplishment of this president in record time. The Genius Act this week, the rescissions package, that's been the focus of the White House. But the president has made it very clear he will not support amnesty for illegal aliens in any way.
I want to give you a chance to respond to the CEO of NPR. She's claiming that the cuts to their network will, quote,
be a real risk to public safety of the country. Congressman Murkowski has argued that public broadcasting stations save lives. Could you respond to these concerns?
The NPR CEO said cutting NPR will be a risk to public safety. I am not sure how NPR helps the public safety of our country, but I do know that NPR, unfortunately, has become really just a propaganda voice for the left. Just a few examples for you. In 2020, NPR refused to cover the Hunter Biden laptop scandal in the run-up to the election. They said their assertions don't amount to much, writing they did not want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. That does not sound like an unbiased opinion. That sounds like a partisan opinion to me. And this is a taxpayer-funded organization. In 2018, that same CEO that you're talking about called the president in the Oval Office, who nearly 80 million Americans elected, she called him racist, shared a photo of herself wearing a Biden for President campaign hat, serves on the board of a Soros-funded activist group. In 2020, PBS's White House correspondent at the time characterized President Trump's speech then at Mount Rushmore as a love letter to white resentment, promoting the myth of America. In 2017, PBS devoted an entire panel talking about what it means to be woke and white privilege. In 2023, PBS's Washington Week Roundtable covered up Joe Biden's clear mental divide. That's actually quite the clip. I would encourage all of you to look at it. These are not honest news organizations. These are partisan, left-wing outlets that are funded by the taxpayers. And this administration does not believe it's a good use of the taxpayers' time and money. Ed Lawrence.
Yeah, thanks, Carol. I want to ask you about the Federal Reserve. So does the president believe that the slightly restrictive monetary policy stance right now, could that cause an economic slowdown? And if he does believe that, when?
What pause are you referring to?
No, could the stance of the monetary policy is slightly restrictive? Does the president believe that that stance, the slightly restrictive stance, could cause an economic slowdown in itself?
I haven't heard the president discuss that specifically, but what I do know in regards to the Federal Reserve is the president's been very transparent about his displeasure with both the policies and the management of the Fed, and he spoke about that to all of you pretty extensively in the Oval Office yesterday.
Yeah, and last month, one more if I could, last month the Canadian Prime Minister said the president had agreed to a July 21st deadline to sort of work towards a trade agreement. That's 4 days from now. Could there be a trade agreement with Canada in 4 days?
Well, look, we'll see. The trade team continues to be very active in our conversations and discussions with Canada. The president himself has said, unfortunately, our neighbors to the north have been pretty difficult to deal with when it comes to matters on trade. But in trade, generally speaking, as you know, 25 countries have received letters thus far from the president directly with his big, beautiful signature on them, from Japan to Korea, South Africa, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, just a few countries, and Canada also received a letter for 35%. With that said, if countries want to have legitimate further discussions, the Trump administration and the president's trade team are willing to have further talks, but these letters these countries have been receiving are the deals. And as the president has said, those deals will be made. They are tailor-made to each and every country based on the United States' concerns and what's in the best interest of the American worker and the American people. Charlie, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline.
No, I called on Charlie, but Deanna, you can go ahead too. Go ahead.
The president said that he floated the idea of a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. Can you confirm that? And has he asked the Attorney General to do this, to appoint a special prosecutor to look it over?
Well, the idea was floated from someone in the media to the president. The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels. And as for his discussions with the Attorney General, I'm not sure. Deanna.
Caroline. Thank you so much. Do you know what the president's reaction was to Mike Johnson saying that he wants additional files released, the Epstein files? Was there a conversation with Mike Johnson about that following his comments?
I won't discuss the president's private conversations with the Speaker of the House, but as I answered to Jackie's question earlier, the president has said if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice and the FBI have any more credible evidence in regards to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, they should put that forward. He has called on them to do that.
Sure. Thank you, Caroline.
With a few days.
I'll go to all of you, starting with the lady in the blue. Go ahead.
With a few days to the August 9th deadline, how are the negotiations with Europe going? There's some sticking points. What are they? Can we expect a delay, or should we expect a deal soon?
Well, I believe the deadline is August 1st. As for the European Union, they continue to be very eager in negotiating with our country for obvious reasons on ways to lower their tariff and their non-tariff barriers that we have long said harm our workers and our companies. So the President's trade team continue to be in talks with the European Union.
Would he accept, or would he put forth a postponement of the August 1st?
He's already said he will not.
Caroline,
Owen, go ahead.
Caroline, good afternoon, Caroline. In Gaza today, Holy Family Catholic Church was struck by an Israeli shell.
Yes.
3 people were killed, 10 wounded. What is the president's reaction to that church coming under fire?
It was not a positive reaction. He called Prime Minister Netanyahu this morning to address the strikes on that church in Gaza, and I understand the Prime Minister agreed to put out a statement. It was a mistake by the Israelis to hit that Catholic church. That's what the Prime Minister relayed to the President, and you should look at the Prime Minister's statement that will be coming out. Steve, go ahead.
Back to your letter that you read at the beginning.
Sure.
The President, you said mild swelling in his legs.
Yes,
is
sir.
it causing him any discomfort? How are you treating it?
Nope. No discomfort from the President at all, and you probably all see that on a day-to-day basis. He's working around the clock. As for the treatments, I can defer to the President's physician, and we'll get you this letter. I think it will answer all your questions.
There are reports that a Chinese-born banker who works in Atlanta for Wells Fargo is being prevented from leaving China. Has the President, is he going to bring this up with President Xi? Are you aware of the case?
I'm not aware of the case, but I'm sure our National Security Council team is. Steve will get you some answers on that.
Thank you.
Kristen.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. So the first is that President Trump said that the Attorney General only gave him a brief overview of what was in these Epstein files. Does he have knowledge or an understanding of what is in the files related to Epstein that have not been released?
Not to my knowledge, and that's a question for the Attorney General, as I said, and the President has told the Attorney General if they have any more credible evidence, they should release it.
Is that evidence, would she have to run that by the President before she released it?
I don't think so. He said if she has any more credible evidence, she should release it. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead, yes.
Great. Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. One, today...
And you can go ahead, Andrew. Don't worry.
Today, tens of thousands of folks are rallying nationwide to honor the legacy of Congressman John Lewis. Meanwhile, Republicans in Texas reportedly are working to redraw congressional maps at President Trump's urging. How is President Trump reconciling his call to action for Texas Republicans with the legacy of Representative John Lewis?
I'm not quite sure how the two things are related. I think the President would agree that John Lewis served our country for many, many years. It has nothing to do with the redistricting efforts that are currently underway by Texas Republicans to add seats to their legislature. They have the right to do that. The President spoke to the congressmen and women who serve the great state of Texas about it, but it's up to them and it's up to their legislature to get that approved.
And Caroline, this is the second question. And
Go
does
ahead.
the President support the Justice Department's request for just 1 day in jail for the officer convicted in Breonna Taylor's killing? And what message does he believe that sends to her family and to other families seeking justice in cases of police violence?
I haven't talked to the President about that case. Go ahead.
Just the President,
Go ahead.
when the President met the interim President of Syria a couple of months ago, he described him as a young, tough, attractive guy. After the latest clashes in Syria over the last few days, does President Trump still support Syria's interim president?
The President still supports Syria's pathway to a peaceful and prosperous country, and you received an update directly from the Secretary of State on the ongoing situation between Syria and Israel. I spoke to him myself this morning to get an update, and as soon as the United States became involved in this conflict, we were able to de-escalate, deconflict. That seems to be continuing. Syria agreed to draw back their troops that were in the area where that clash was ongoing, and we continue to be very actively monitoring the situation. The President wants to see Syria become a prosperous and stable country, and by the lifting of the sanctions on Syria, he's giving them a real chance to do that, and he wants to see that through. Andrew, go ahead.
So on Tuesday, the President told a very detailed story about his uncle, noted scientist John Trump, and Theodore Kaczynski, the late Unabomber. He said that Dr. Trump taught Ted Kaczynski. Ted Kaczynski was not identified as the Unabomber until 1996, 11 years after John Trump passed away, it would have been impossible for John Trump to have ever discussed the Unabomber with the president. So what was he talking about? And I have one follow-up.
Andrew, with so many issues going on in the world, I'm a little bit surprised you would ask such a question, although I'm not sometimes coming from you, I will say, but I'm willing to give you an answer. Nevertheless, the president's uncle did, in fact, teach at MIT. He was a very intelligent professor. The president's very proud of his family. In fact, the president has a letter from his uncle on the MIT letterhead that sits in the Oval Office dining room. Maybe we'll let you see it sometime.
And then one, Caroline, one more. Will the president consider pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell if the Epstein case is a hoax?
Okay, I'll start off with the president said last week he would not be getting involved in the New York City mayoral case. If that mayoral race, if that's still the case, given his history drawing a large crowd in New York City, what's his reason for staying out of it in that way?
Well, look, I think the president reserves the right to get involved in races or not get involved in races, and he's made the decision not to weigh in on the New York mayoral race, as you rightly pointed out, although he has gone as far to say he absolutely does not want to see Zemdami elected, who is a known communist who supports the abolishment of private property, the defunding of police. He has made very well-known anti-Semitic statements. It would be a disaster for New York and for this country, and I think it's quite telling that this individual, a known communist, has been spending time in Washington this week meeting with leaders on Capitol Hill. This is truly where the Democrat Party is headed. Clearly, they learned nothing from November 5th in the president's overwhelming victory. Mary, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. I want to backtrack to the hospitals that have stopped providing transgender surgeries and hormones for kids. On this front, does that have anything to do with the DOJ's subpoenas last week? Should we expect any more hospitals be shutting down their programs? And I wanted to also ask what you make of all these media reports, especially the AP, which I noticed, which portrays these children as losing something that's saving their lives.
Yes, I think the president spoke a lot about this issue, which is a political issue, but also really a cultural issue that impacts children and families. He talked about it a lot on the campaign, and I think he was quite surprised by the uptick we were seeing in the embracement by the Democrat Party when it comes to the chemical castration and mutilation of young, innocent bodies. And so the president made it a very early priority to sign very strong executive orders to cut off the funding for any hospital or any medical facility in this country that provides such barbaric procedures. And as a result of that strong policy and the president's strong common sense position on this issue, we've had such an overwhelming response, which is great for children in Arizona. Phoenix Children's Hospital has stopped providing puberty blockers and hormone therapy to minors. In California, Stanford Medicine ended sex change surgeries for minors. Children's Hospital Los Angeles is closing its Center for Trans Youth Health and Development surgical program. In Illinois, Lurie Children's Hospital of Chicago stopped sex change surgeries. Again, let's think about what we're talking about here. Sex change surgeries for minors. These are barbaric practices that no child, innocent child, should have to endure. And the president wants to protect the innocence of children, and I know the vast majority of Americans support him in that effort. This is a wildly popular and common sense endeavor this administration has taken, and we've seen many of these medical institutions have followed through with the president's executive orders, but will continue to take further action on this important issue. Garrett.
I too, if you'll indulge me,
Sure.
on the rescissions package, I wonder what the White House makes of this theory that it increases the odds of a shutdown. The theory is basically, why would any Democrat vote for a bipartisan spending deal with Republicans if Republicans can turn around and claw the money back the next day?
Look, $9 billion worth of crap that it was in our federal funding that is now being rescinded. This is a good thing for the American people and the American taxpayer, and I think our Office of Management and Budget Director was saying this process should be more bipartisan. Democrats, there was a time in this country where Democrats too cared about getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse in our federal spending. I think every American agrees the government spends way too much money on things that don't matter. Some of those things include PBS and NPR, or for instance, instance, the Democracy Fund, which was funded to the tune of $83 million through the Department of State, but they were giving hundreds of thousands of dollars for gender equality and empowerment hubs in Yemen, $3.9 million for strengthening information integrity, equality, and democracy for LGBTQI population of the Western Balkans. These are not good uses of the taxpayer funds, and Republicans are proud to lead that effort, and we wish more Democrats would join us in that.
I wanted to follow up on the Maureen Comey question just to clarify. Did the White House have any knowledge, or did the president sign off on her firing?
This was a decision that was made by the Department of Justice.
There was an agreement that was made between Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services regarding access to Medicaid information for 92 million Medicaid recipients around the country. That includes health information. So how does that not violate HIPAA violations and privacy concerns, for example, of American citizens?
I'm going to have to defer you to Immigration and Customs Enforcement on that. I'm unfamiliar with that agreement that they made.
Thanks, Caroline. 2 questions. Russ Vought said today he's going to be looking into cost overruns in the Fed's renovation projects. Is there a deadline for him to come back with findings to the president?
I don't believe there's a deadline the president has set for Russ Vought, but I think, again, this is a good use of taxpayers' time to look into this project that is millions and millions of dollars over budget. It's for a big, beautiful mansion for the federal chairman, reserve chairman, and I understand that it costs much more than it did the beautiful palace that many of you joined us at when we went overseas. So it's completely unnecessary, it's overpriced, and I think it's a good thing the administration, led by the president, is looking into it.
If there ever were to find wrongdoing or fraud, would the president reconsidering firing Jerome Powell?
Look, it's a hypothetical question. We'll see where it goes. The president spoke about how he feels on this matter yesterday.
Sure. Thank
Go
you
ahead.
so much, Caroline. So we saw Ambassador Huckabee arrive to Prime Minister Netanyahu trial to show his support. Does the president plan to impose any kind of sanctions against the Israel judicial system?
I don't have any update for you on that or any announcement on that front. I don't believe so.
Does the president believe that justice has been served in the Epstein case?
Look, the president believes that he directed the Department of Justice to do an exhaustive and thorough review, and they did that. And they all agreed, the FBI director, the deputy FBI director, the attorney general, on the memo that they drafted and they released.
Thank you, Caroline. Just a follow-up on Reagan's question. Representative Salazar's bill, it grants illegal aliens with legal status for 7-year increments. It also gives permanent path to residency for so-called dreamers. And, you know, President Trump and Labor Secretary Chavez, who previously co-sponsored a version of this bill when she was in the House, they've spoken about a work deal similar to the bill, I believe. What's the difference between a work deal and amnesty?
Look, as I told Reagan, the president, the White House have not reviewed this specific piece of legislation. It's just not where our focus has been. But the president, for one, has been very clear he does not support amnesty. We'll go to, oh, look at some friends in the back. Brian, go ahead. You didn't show up early enough to get some good real estate up here.
I love it. Any update on the auto pen? I know that there was the DOJ and some others were looking into the thousands of documents that were signed off just before Joe Biden left office. Any update on the auto pen?
Yes. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at how far away you are, and you're going to need to get some microphones back there. On the auto pen investigation, yes. The White House counsel's office has launched their own investigation into former President Biden's usage of the auto pen. We have requested some documents from the National Archives, and again, as I've said many times from this podium, and the president has said as well, it's incredibly important that we get to the bottom of who really was at the tip of the spear in the decision-making process here in the White House, because former President Biden himself admitted to the New York Times, I understand he never gave interviews when he was here, but now all of a sudden he wants to give one, and he said that he did not actually review every single pardon that he signed on his way out the door. That's incredibly concerning, and I can tell you it's something this president would never tolerate. This is a president who is signing things all the time. Any document that has legal implications, this president's signature is on it because he's the one making the decisions. It does not appear that was the truth in the previous White House, and I know the American people want to receive answers on who was running the show, because the decisions that were made in this place really destroyed our country, and we deserve to get to the bottom of it. Mark, in the back.
Thanks. Some Christian groups are complaining that they are not able to get visas as quickly to travel to Israel, and it's been elevated to Ambassador Huckabee's station. Is the White House aware of that? Does it have any reaction to that? And is that part of the president's disappointment with Netanyahu's government?
Look, I'm not aware of that, Mark, but I'm sure, again, our National Security Council is, and also the State Department. As you know, travel visas roll through Secretary Rubio's shop over there, whom we work very closely with, so we will check in on the matter. But I know overall this president and the administration do want to streamline the visa process to make it easier for both Americans who want to travel abroad and people abroad who want to come to our country the legal way. Sure. Go ahead. I was going to the gentleman above you, but go ahead, Libby, and then you can go.
Sorry. Okay, 2 questions for you. The first is, during the Hill Nation Summit, Secretary Noem suggested there could be some changes to TSA's liquid limits. Is the president aware of that? Is that an idea that he's backing? And what would that timeline and the changes look like?
Sure. I would defer you to the Department of Homeland Security, but I did see Secretary Noem's comments, and I think it's great that on day 1 she asked TSA, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? How can we make air travel more efficient while maintaining utmost security for American passengers and travelers? And I know they announced no more shoes, or you don't need to take off your shoes anymore at the airport, which I think is welcome news to all of us who travel a lot. But further guidance or decisions, of course, that's in the Secretary of Homeland Security's overview, and I would defer to her.
And the other question for you is on Bondi and Burgum's trip today to Alcatraz. I'm curious what the funding is going to look like for that, and who the president does want to see incarcerated there, if it were to become.
Sure. Well, this was an idea of the president. He spoke about it in May, and he directed his administration to review a reopening plan for Alcatraz if it is possible, which is why the Attorney General and the Secretary of Interior have traveled there today. They are touring the site, and if the Alcatraz prison is reopened, it would be under the purview of the Bureau of Prisons, and the Secretary of Interior also would play a big role in this as well. So they're there to review the site today, and I'm sure you'll hear more from them on it later. And just to follow up, Libby, on who the president wants to see housed in Alcatraz, the worst of the worst criminals in this country, both American criminals who convict heinous crimes, but also illegal alien criminals before deportation as well. Sure. Go ahead.
The State Department yesterday urged the Chinese Communist Party to cease its campaign to eradicate Falun Gong, a peaceful spiritual practice. With the anniversary of this brutal persecution approaching, does the White House have a message for the CCP on this?
Well, I will get you one, and we will get back to you. Sure. Go ahead. We'll take. Go ahead, and then go ahead. Sure. I've never called on you. Why don't you go ahead? In the red tie.
Me.
Dr. Harper behind.
Thank you.
Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Me, thanks.
Yes.
Thank you, Caroline.
Yes, you. What's your name?
My name is Matias. Thank you.
What's your outlet?
I'm from Record TV, Brazil.
Great.
Brazil's President Lula recently said that President Trump was elected to govern the United States and not to act as the emperor of the world. And he also emphasized that Brazil is open to negotiation. I'd like to hear what you have to say about it, what the administration has to say about it, and specifically what areas are currently open to negotiation in the light of the 50% tariffs that were announced.
Sure. The president is certainly not trying to be the emperor of the world. He is a strong president for the United States of America, and he's also the leader of the free world. And we've seen a great shift across the entire globe because of the strong leadership of this president. In regards to Brazil, the president sent a letter to Brazil announcing their new tariff percentage. He also directed our USTR ambassador Jameson Greer to launch an investigation of Brazil under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, designed to address unfair foreign practices that are affecting U.S. commerce. For years, we know Brazil's digital regulations and weak IP protections have undermined U.S. tech and innovative companies, and their tolerance of illegal deforestation and other environmental practices puts American producers, manufacturers, farmers, and ranchers who follow better environmental standards at a competitive disadvantage. So this president always acts in the best interest of the American people and the United States of America, and he will continue to do so. Thank you very much, everyone. See you later. I appreciate the enthusiasm today.
Thank you, Caroline.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us early today. We have a very busy day, so we wanted to kick off the week right this morning after a great trip last week. It's good to see all of you back in Washington. This afternoon in the Rose Garden, President Trump, alongside First Lady Melania Trump, will sign the Take It Down Act into law. First Lady Melania Trump was instrumental in getting this important legislation passed. The Take It Down Act will protect victims of digital exploitation, hold internet platforms accountable by requiring them to remove such imagery from their platforms, and provide justice for victims by allowing prosecutors to go after those who publish non-consensual explicit images online. The First Lady met with members in the House and the Senate, survivors and their families, and advocates throughout the process to get this bill across the finish line. We are grateful for the First Lady's hard work and dedication to this issue, and moving forward, she will continue to champion the well-being of our nation's children through her Be Best agenda. I know the President looks forward to signing that bill into law later this afternoon, and we will see you all there. In other news, the One Big Beautiful Bill passed the House Budget Committee last night, bringing it one step closer to final passage. The One Big Beautiful Bill is perfectly named because it represents a once-in-a-generation opportunity to deliver on the Make America Great Again agenda responsible for President Trump's landslide victory on November 5th. The America First policies in this bill are the reason why Republicans currently have the majority in Congress right now. Passing this bill is what voters sent Republicans to Washington to accomplish. And that's why it's essential that every Republican in the House and the Senate unites behind President Trump and passes this popular and essential legislative package. This bill will be the single most pro-small business, pro-family, and pro-American worker legislation ever. This bill will give Americans the largest tax cuts in our nation's history. When Republicans pass the bill, Americans will be keeping more of their hard-earned money and taking home much bigger paychecks. The One Big Beautiful Bill will deliver some of President Trump's central campaign promises. No tax on tips for our hardworking waiters, waitresses, and service workers. No tax on overtime for our law enforcement officers, our firefighters, and all those Americans who are putting in extra hours to make ends meet. And a large tax deduction on interest payments for Americans who purchase American-made cars. Despite desperate Democrat lies, the biggest beneficiary of this tax cut will be working-class Americans and their families. Americans earning between $30,000 and $80,000 per year will pay about 15% less in taxes after this legislation is passed. And according to a brand new paper from the White House Council of Economic Advisors, the average family with 2 children's take-home pay will be up to $13,000 higher because of the increase in wages and reductions in tax obligations. The CEA study also said that the average overtime worker receives a tax cut of roughly $2,000. Again, this is great news for our nurses, our police officers, and all those who work overtime to make ends meet across our country. Put simply, President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill will be a boon for working-class America. This One Big Beautiful Bill is also pro-family. It will increase the child tax credit to $2,500 per child, establish optional savings account for newborn babies with a $1,000 credit added, and strengthen paid family leave. This bill also delivers historic tax relief to America's seniors by allowing middle and low-income Social Security recipients to deduct an additional $4,000 in payments from their taxable income. If Democrats get their way and the Trump tax cuts are not extended, Americans will face the largest tax hike in history to the tune of $4 trillion. Republicans must not side with Democrats in helping them raise taxes. The One Big Beautiful Bill also provides critical protections of Medicaid, which will strengthen and preserve the program for decades to come through common sense efforts to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. Medicaid will no longer be used to pay for barbaric gender mutilation procedures on minor children. And the 1.4 million illegal aliens who are currently improperly receiving Medicaid benefits will be kicked off the program to preserve it for hardworking American citizens who need it. President Trump and Republicans are protecting Medicaid benefits for pregnant women, children, disabled individuals, low-income seniors and families, and the most vulnerable Americans in our society. And that's what Democrats are so angry about. Basic Medicaid protections that will stop the funding of transgender insanity and illegal aliens from ripping off American taxpayers. As you all know, over his first 4 months in office, President Trump ended the previous administration's open border crisis and secured our homeland in record time, all using executive authority. Now Congress needs to act. The One Big Beautiful Bill is the most significant investment in our nation's border patrol and law enforcement agents in our nation's history. The bill ensures that President Trump's popular and successful border security measures are made permanent. Republicans have the backs of Border Patrol and ICE agents who were put through hell over the past 4 years and have quickly worked to secure our southern border. And that's why this bill gives them more resources to do their jobs, including a $10,000 much-needed bonus to ICE agents and Border Patrol agents over the next 4 years. To provide those brave agents with desperately needed reinforcements on the ground, the bill allows for the hiring of thousands of new ICE personnel, customs officers, and Border Patrol agents. These significant hirings will empower President Trump to continue delivering on his promise to carry out the largest mass deportation in the history of our country. Again, that is a promise that Republicans made to American voters. It's a promise they were elected on, and it's a promise Republicans on Capitol Hill need to keep: secure our border. To supplement those efforts, the bill's funds will fund the completion of President Trump's signature border wall. As a result, 701 miles of primary wall, 900 miles of river barriers, 629 miles of secondary barriers, and 141 miles of vehicle and pedestrian barriers will be constructed when this bill passes, along with cutting-edge technology to secure our homeland from dangerous illegal alien invaders. This bill also advances our national security and defense interests by ensuring the United States military has the necessary resources to remain the strongest and most lethal fighting force in the world. The bill will provide resources for the construction of President Trump's Golden Dome to safeguard Americans from potential attacks, give the Coast Guard resources to build more modernized ships, and the Air Force resources to acquire better planes. If all of those incredible things were not enough, the Big Beautiful Bill also finally modernizes air traffic control in America.